Is the SUNLU Filament Dryer E2 the best filament dryer? Especially for moisture-sensitive engineering materials such as polycarbonate, nylon, carbon-filled, and glass-filled, and others? That's what we're going to find out in this video. Hi, this is Ken of Wrist Innovations, and I may have found the solution to getting rid of moisture from your high-temperature engineering filaments that wreaks havoc on your 3D prints. Let's talk about the SUNLU Filament Dryer E2 Filament Dryer, especially designed for high-temperature 3D printing filaments. I want to thank SUNLU for sending me their E2 for my evaluation. I just wanted to mention that SUNLU is having their 12th anniversary sale beginning July 1st, and they are going to have a lot of great deals throughout the month of July. So you'll want to check them out. I have a link in the description below. So let's get started. Let's talk features. Number one, the most important feature to me about the E2 is that it has a maximum temperature of 110 degrees C or 230 degrees F. This is a higher temperature than any other filament dryers that I am aware of on the market. Number two, the E2 will dry your more common filaments such as ABS, ASA, and TPU, but it will also be able to dry your higher temperature filaments such as PC, PA6, glass-filled and carbon-filled, and PAHT-CF that require drying temperatures of 80 degrees C. But even materials such as PPA-CF and PPS-CF that require drying temperatures of 100 degrees C or higher. Number three, the overall size of the E2 is 400 millimeters wide by 220 millimeters deep by 307 millimeters high. Number four, the E2 has a double wall construction to isolate the 110 degrees C internal maximum temperature, which will keep the external wall temperature to less than 70 degrees C or 158 degrees F. Number five, the E2 can fit spools up to 250 millimeters diameter by 153 millimeters wide. So you should be able to fit a quantity of two 1 kilogram or 2 kilogram spools or one 3 kilogram spool in the dryer. Number six, the E2 drying time can be set from 0 to 99 hours. Number seven, the E2 has rollers in the bottom that allow the spools to rotate freely. So you can leave the spools in the dryer and connect them directly to your printer to keep them in a dry environment while you're printing. Number eight, there's a fan that circulates the air and the heater is located on the right side of the dryer. Because the heater can get so hot, you don't want to get near it while drying, and I don't recommend opening the dryer while it's in the drying cycle. Number nine, it has a 500 watt heater, so it heats up the dryer very quickly. SUNLU claims it heats up to 50 degrees C in 20 minutes and 70 degrees C in 30 minutes. We will test this out in the next section of this video. Number 10, it has a small pocket to hold desiccant. It would have been nice if SUNLU would have included a tray to hold the desiccant beads that are popular with various drying chambers. Number 11, it has a nice 4-inch LCD touchscreen that allows you to choose one of the preset settings, and it displays the actual temperature, set point temperature, relative humidity, and time. Number 12, the E2 has 4 vents on the lid that you can open during drying to let out the humid air, and it has 4 filament exit holes, 2 on each end, that you can install PTFE tubing and connect directly to your printer to keep the filament from being exposed to your humid room conditions. Number 13, the E2 also has an annealing mode, which allows you to place your 3D printed parts in the dryer and anneal them. Annealing is the heating process that removes the internal stresses from 3D printed parts, which improves their impact resistance and toughness. You just place your parts on the annealing tray and place the tray into the dryer. Set the dryer to mode 2, annealing, and set the temperature and time based on the filament manufacturer's recommendations. The key after the annealing process is over is to allow the parts to cool gradually and not remove them from the dryer until at least 30 minutes after the annealing cycle is finished. So, now let's dry some filaments. My parts test. I chose 2 moisture-sensitive materials to dry in the E2. The first filament I tested was TPU. This is a very flexible material that is very sensitive to humidity. At the making of this video, June of 2025, we are in the middle of our high humidity time of the year in the northeast of the US, which can range from 60% to 90% relative humidity. There was no rain in the forecast, so I set two spools of filament, a TPU spool and a PA6CF spool, outside for 24 hours. One thing I didn't expect was to wake up to it pouring rain the next morning. So I would say that I exposed the filaments to excessive moisture. I brought the spools back into my shop and I used my 3D printed spool rewinder to wipe the excess rain from the spools because I didn't want all the water to get inside my printer tubing. Next, I printed these death racer tracks using the TPU spool. The Death Racer tracks are part of the Death Racers project that is led by Sam Prentice of the Real Sam Prentice YouTube channel. You can see that there is excessive stringing, especially between the tracks. Then I placed the same spool of TPU into the E2 and I picked the TPU presetting setting of 55 degrees C for 6 hours. Due to the powerful 500 watt heater, the E2 only took 15 minutes to reach the set temperature of 55 degrees C and 10% humidity. After drying, I printed the same Death Racer tracks and the stringing was almost completely eliminated. So, drying of the TPU had a major positive impact on the quality of the parts. Next, PA6CF. SUNLU has just launched their new PA6CF, which is nylon combined with 20% carbon fibers. This filament has high heat resistance and stiffness, so it's great for engineering applications such as gears, skateboard parts, etc. Another interesting feature of the PA6CF product launch is that SUNLU is using their new reusable spools. The spools twist apart, so you can reuse the spools. I imagine SUNLU will be selling refills in the near future, which will save you some money. I printed this pipe wrench from 3dprintedhardware.com using the SUNLU PA6CF that I had inadvertently left out in the rain. The wrench turned out very badly, with numerous defects to the point that the part really wasn't usable. Then I placed the PA6CF into the E2 and I picked the PA preset setting of 90 degrees C for 3 hours. The E2 took 30 minutes to reach the 90 degrees set point. After drying, I printed the same pipe wrench and I was amazed at the results. It was the most defect-free pipe wrench that I've ever printed. And I've printed almost a dozen pipe wrenches in various high temperature materials over the last 6 months. You can easily read the lettering on top and all the surfaces turned out beautifully. The parts all went together easily and the pipe wrench works very smoothly. This is another prime example of, first, how much humidity can impact certain materials, and second, how much of an impact of an effective filament dryer can have on the quality of your prints when you're using moisture-sensitive filaments. I did one last test with an empty E2 to see how long it would take to reach the maximum temperature of 110 degrees C. It took 25 minutes to reach the maximum 110 degrees C temperature. Now let's talk about pricing. As of June of 2025, the SUNLU FilaDryer E2 cost is $359.99. So this is not a cheap filament dryer. So if you are mainly printing PLA and PETG and occasionally printing some ABS or ASA, then you would be better off considering a lower cost alternative such as the SUNLU S4 filament dryer at a cost of $139.99. The S4 is about the same physical size as the E2, but it can hold up to 4 1 kilogram rolls of filaments versus the E2 can only hold up to 2 1 kilogram rolls of filaments. The S4 has a maximum drying temperature of 70 degrees C, so it won't be able to dry the higher temperature engineering materials. But if you are not printing the higher temperature filaments, then the S4 would be a good choice. If you're on a budget and you're only occasionally printing materials such as ABS or ASA, then SUNLU offers their S2 filament dryer, which is on sale for $49.99. But if you are in fact printing higher temperature engineering materials such as PC, PA6 or PA12, glass-filled or carbon-filled, or especially if you're printing PPACF or PPSCF, then the E2 can really help you manage the quality of your prints by removing moisture from these moisture-sensitive materials. The SUNLU Filament Dryer E2 is a very effective filament dryer for all typical materials that you might use for your 3D printing needs, especially for the higher temperature moisture sensitive materials such as PC, PA6, PA12, carbon filled and glass filled, and even PPA and PPS carbon filled. At a maximum drying temperature of 110 degrees C, it's the highest temperature filament dryer that I'm aware of on the market at this time. It has a powerful 500 watt heater that heats up the chamber to 55 degrees C in 15 minutes and 110 degrees C in 25 minutes. At a cost of $359.99, it's not cheap. But if you are printing the higher temperature materials, especially PPA and PPS carbon filled, it's the best filament dryer to tackle those engineering materials. A couple of areas of improvement for the E2 would be if SUNLU could implement a relative humidity mode that would automatically start after the drying cycle would end. This would maintain a low humidity level in the chamber. Another thing to consider is to relocate the LCD screen to one of the short sides of the dryer, so it could be placed next to the printers on a shelf without taking up so much room, because now you have to orient the dryer on the long side to use the LCD screen. If you want to see my video titled, "Do you really need a filament dryer for your 3D printing?" that link is here. If you want to see my video titled, "Which is the best brand of PLA filament for 3D printing?" that link is here. Thanks for watching. Bye!